Okay, before saying anything, I think you need to take a look at this video. Check it out.
I just want to encourage every one of us to realize when we obey God, we're not doing it for God. I mean, that's one way to look at it. We're doing it for ourselves. Because God takes pleasure when we're happy. That's the thing that gives him the greatest joy this morning. So I want you to know this morning, just do good for your own self. Do good because God wants you to be happy. When you come to church, when you worship him, you're not doing it for God, really. You're doing it for yourself. Because that's what makes God happy. Amen. Let's open our heart to him today. Father.
Okay. Now, we all know that Joel Osteen, her husband, has already stated on record, along with Billy Graham, John Paul II, Robert Schuller, Pope Benedict XVI, and the present Jesuit Pope, that Jesus is not needed to gain salvation. But for Osteen's wife to say we don't need to do God's will to please God, and then for her husband to stand behind her nodding his head up and down in agreement, is an open sign that the prophecy has been fulfilled. On my site, I have a book I wrote about 10 or 15 years ago. Just go to the prophecy section of the website, go to Prophecy of Today, and then go down to People Get Ready. There's also an update to this book at the bottom here. It's very near the end. It's a sermon series I did a little while ago. But what I want to point out here in this book is there's two prophecies, in fact, that she is fulfilling here. Well, they're all doing this, actually. And it's found in here, where is it? Number 11, and then number 13. Number 11 is speaking about the scoffers that will not endure sound doctrine. And then 13, of course, is speaking about how in the last days there's going to be a craze for pleasure. And these two prophecies are based on what Paul shared with Timothy in chapters 3 and 4. Two verses from these chapters summarize what I mean here. And it's 2 Timothy chapter 3, verses 1 to 4, and 2 Timothy chapter 4, verses 3 and 4. And it says this, "In the last days, men shall be lovers of pleasures more than lovers of God." And then it says, "They will not endure sound doctrine, and they shall turn away their ears from the truth, and shall be turned unto fables." So if you get time, you may want to read these two sections in my book, and then look around and see that these prophecies have been fulfilled for years, but never were they more confirmed or etched in stone as being fulfilled than when this woman, who leads the largest lukewarm church in the world, said we must be more concerned with what pleasures us than what pleasures or pleases the Lord. My Bible says in the book of Psalms, chapter 42, verse 2, that my soul thirsteth for God, for the living God. When shall I come and appear before God? But because the Osteens preach prosperity and self-worship, their souls thirsteth for whatever pleases the flesh, and that is a direct fulfillment of prophecy. It also fulfills the prophecy that states men will no longer endure sound doctrine and shall be turned unto fables. But it also says in Hebrews chapter 6, verse 10, "For God is not unrighteous to forget your work and labor of love, which ye have showed toward his name." In other words, the work and labor we do for his name pleases him. And it is this his true followers will thirst after. Revelation 17:17 also says, "For God hath put in their hearts to fulfill his will." But the Osteens preach God has put it in our hearts to please our will, and that is what makes him happy. The bottom line is this. Did not Jesus visit us 2,000 years ago to be our example? And being our example, did he not say in John chapter 5, verse 30, "I can of mine own self do nothing. As I hear, I judge, and my judgment is just, because I seek not mine own will, but the will of the Father, which hath sent me." So if we seek to do our own will, or do what makes us happy as the Osteens dictate instead of making the Father happy by doing his will, how can we claim to be the followers of Jesus Christ, who did in fact deny self and do all he can to please his Father? The Osteens and all the others that preach this false message are those prophecy predicted would be among us in the end. They preach another Jesus that Paul warned about in 2 Corinthians chapter 11. And when speaking of the last days, 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 2 clearly says, "For men shall be lovers of their own selves." The Osteens and all those that echo these same prophesied heresies have worked for decades to cultivate literally billions of lukewarm Christians to become lovers of their own selves instead of lovers of God. And what you're seeing now in these videos of Osteen's wife confirm we are in those days. I hope and pray that you were blessed by what was shared. Please share these videos with as many as possible. Please subscribe, and thank you for watching. God bless.